This is an extract from the Leader Coronavirus Daily podcast by the Evening Standard and hosted by me, David Marsland. To hear the whole thing, search for it on your podcast provider. Some of us are going back to the office, some of us are holding out a little bit longer, and some of us may have to go back whether we want to or not, like teachers. The government wants classes running in June, unions don't. But countries like France have shown the way, with children returning, although to very different schools. You may have seen photos of young pupils sitting alone in chalk-drawn squares in the playground, unable to go near their friends. The Evening Standard's education editor Anna Davis has been looking into what could happen here. And Anna, could we start with the teachers themselves? Do they actually want to go back to work?
I've spoken to a number of teachers and head teachers who are all quite excited about going back. They're very aware of the problems of the children not being in the classrooms, and they're aware that there's a learning gap opening up between the haves and the have-nots. So children who are at home doing a lot of home learning and have got parents who can sort of push them and have all the equipment at home, and then children who might not be doing very much. They're worried about this gap opening up, and they want to get them back in the classroom as soon as possible. They are also concerned about it being safe, of course, but I think they are really quite excited about the prospect of getting back, yes.
Yeah, I can imagine the safety issue would be a thing that comes up with a lot of parents as well.
Yes, parents I've spoken to are in two minds about it, especially if you're working. It would be great if your children could go back to school. Life could get back to some kind of normality, and of course you could earn more money if you can't work because your children are at home. That's obviously a problem, but then people are worried about the safety. There's some concerns about whether children can spread it, whether they're going to get ill. So yeah, there's a lot of confusion out there.
So it's clearly going to have to be a lot of changes, at least just to reassure people that classrooms are safe. But I understand that some architects have gone back to school effectively, I suppose, and proposed some different ideas for how to teach pupils in classes.
Yes, there is an architect firm in Hoxton, CLTH, who's come up with the idea of using all the old marquees and big tops that would be normally being used in the summer, say big tops for circuses, marquees at weddings and outdoor festivals, and reusing them to provide extra classroom space for London schools. And they've come up with a number of scenarios of you putting up tents on the school grounds, or using the residential streets next to schools, closing them off and putting up tents there, or even parks nearby schools. So you would be able to open the sides and let fresh air in. You'd be able to take the pressure off the main school buildings. And it would be fun as well, especially if you're in a big top going back to school after being at home for so many weeks. It might provide a bit of fun. So they're trying to spark a conversation about these ways that we can think a bit creatively about how to get children back in and safely.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it, to go back to school and your school's now a circus? I think that would probably get some children quite into the idea, wouldn't it?
I think it would. I think they've been having quite a tough time, and it's quite sad, and some of them are quite lonely, I think, not seeing their friends, especially those teenagers who should be taking their exams. It's a bit of an anticlimax for them, I think. So yeah, if you went back and there was big top and tents, that kind of thing, outdoor learning, it might cheer people up a little bit, as long as it's keeping them safe.
Search for the Leader Coronavirus Daily on any podcast provider to hear more from the podcast.